Shalom. Last week we began this very short series which is intended to prepare us for Karvenu tomorrow. So last week we talked about the reasons why we should come to Karvenu. And today we're going to talk about, we're going to go and explore how to approach Karvenu, how to prepare ourselves for what the Lord is going to do. And I have a couple of ways in which we can prepare ourselves to receive what the Lord is going to give to us, to benefit better from what He is going to do. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to read a scripture here, and then we're going to tie that verse at the end of my talk here. But I want to begin with this scripture. It's in Luke 6:40. In Luke 6:40, it says, this is Yeshua speaking, and he says, "A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone after he has been fully trained will be like his teacher." So a disciple is not above his teacher, but after a disciple has been trained, then he will be like his teacher. He will attain the level of his teacher. If this process, through and through, is a process of transformation, is a process of change. Change is the first thing that we need to understand in order to receive what Karvenu is all about. Now, let me remind you, Karvenu is a word that it means draw us near. So it really is a prayer. Lord, draw us near to you. And the word Karvenu comes from a Hebrew root, karav, which is the word, the umbrella term for all of the sacrifices. So in our Torah study, last week we concluded our time in the book of Leviticus, but we saw that term over and over and over, especially in the earlier chapters, and how the meaning of it is, how can a sacrifice be named after a word that means draw us near? Well, the reason is that the sacrifices are designed to draw us near to the Lord. It's a way that He has designed it, and it is through the blood of the sacrifices, because we know that He has given us the blood because of the life that is in the blood. So the fullness of this understanding is that Karvenu, Karav, is all about life. That is what we're going to experience tomorrow. So the more that we're filled with life, the more that we are transformed. The more that our Master brings us to be more like Him, fully trained as a disciple, right? As one who is sitting under a rabbi. So the process is a process of transformation, a process of change. So let's talk about change. Change is not the most exciting thing in the world. And I want to show you 5 ways in which we conceive change, right? We can talk about change in terms of changing our environment, right? So we have this ill-fated perception that if we change where we're at, if we change our location, then things are going to be better. And so we think about changing a job, right? Moving to another city. Some people change spouses. And then they don't realize wherever they go, there they are. And they bring themselves with them, and nothing changes. You see, we think that wherever I am at, or whoever I'm with, that by circumstances, it's what's holding me back. That's not true. And we we challenge that definition of insanity, right? That if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you don't see that anything changes, and you continue to do it, then something is not right clicking up here, right? That's what insanity is. Continue to do the same thing without seeing any actual results, without things actually changing. We think that we would respond differently if our environment was different. So we blame. We blame circumstances. It is because of this. Or we blame other people. Or it's because of her, because of him, because of you. I mean, Adam and Eve even blamed God, right? If you wouldn't have created her, none of this would have happened. Right? The woman you gave me. We kind of get tired of the trying to change our circumstances, and so we tell ourselves, for sure, if I change my behavior, that's going to do it. In fact, other people tell me, you need to change your behavior. We've been hearing this since we were little. In fact, you know that you are in a church, in a congregation, in a synagogue, whenever the person up here begins talking about change, especially changing your behavior. That's the sign that you are in a religious environment. When we talk about changing your behavior. Well, freedom is not stopping certain behavior or starting certain behaviors. Freedom is a little more deeper than that. It comes from a deeper place. You see, our thoughts and our feelings are the root of behavior. So behavior really is not the main focus. We got to go a little deeper in order to bring about, to experience transformation. We tell ourselves, we tell other people, we even tell God, and we promise that we are going to change. We mean change our behavior. And that kind of works for a little bit, but it doesn't bring lasting change, lasting transformation. The reason is that sin is not a behavioral problem. So changing our behavior is not the long-term solution.
Amen.
See, we kind of think that what's holding me back is what I do. The thing I'm doing, that's what's holding me back. So I gotta change what I do. And in Messianic Judaism, then we have a whole set of new things to do. In fact, Judaism, we're taught, is the faith of doing. Christianity is the faith of creeds, of belief. And so we come over here on this camp, and now this is all about doing. And we begin to do a whole bunch of things that we didn't do before. And we have a whole lot of things going on. And it usually takes us a few years to realize I'm still in the trying to change my behavior mode. And I just took a little longer route to come to the realization that that was not it. Sometimes it's tragic. Well, how about we explore other types of changes? Well, there's one that is also plaguing our Messianic movement, which is changing our abilities, really changing what we know. You see, we say, if I just learn to do that, then I'll be different. Things will be different. So if I learn to play the drums, I'll feel better about myself. I don't know about you. You may not enjoy it as much. So if I acquire a new skill, if I acquire new knowledge, and so I go on into a pursuit of knowledge. That is huge in the Messianic world, because guess what? Now you come to a place in which we have accumulated thousands and thousands of years of knowledge, thousands and thousands of pages of knowledge, new books that you've never heard of, and you begin to dive into this knowledge. And now you have a new set of knowledge, a new set of skill. You know how to do things. You know when to bow. You know when to bend the knee, when to turn to the left, turn to the right. And at the end of the day, you end up in the same place. It didn't work. Changing our ability, acquiring knowledge isn't the solution, because that's not the problem. You see, the problem of knowledge began in the Garden of Eden. When they ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. What they did was they exchanged, we did this, we exchanged a dependence of God as our source of truth. And we became our own source of what is right and what is wrong, what is good and evil, what is beneficial and what is not. And so now we live, this is, for many, this is as deep as our faith gets. A knowledge of what is good and what is evil. Not knowing that we are living, eating of that same tree that we were told not to eat. Because we were created to hear the voice of God. For Him to tell us what is right and what is wrong. Our faith hinges on Shema Israel. Hear, O Israel. Would you hear the voice of the Lord? Or would you hear the voice of knowledge? Knowledge is a trap, and it leads us back not to inside the garden, but actually outside of the garden. So we get tired of knowledge, and for sure, if we change our belief, then that's going to do it. Well, getting warm, getting close. Here's the problem. That it is very, very difficult to get to what you really, really believe. See, there is a difference between what we profess and what we actually believe. I can sit here all day and tell you that I believe in healing, that God heals people. But when it comes to my personal trust, that God has really the power to change my circumstances, my health, that He wants to do this, that He is able to heal me. That's when my real faith, or lack of it, actually shows. That's when what I really believe comes into place, not what I profess. You see, it's not my statement of faith, my set of doctrines, but it's my core values. If you go to our website, SukkatShalom.us, you're not going to find a statement of faith. And it is intentional. It doesn't mean that we don't have one. We do. We have one actually on our documents, bylaws, and Constitution. We have a statement of faith. But that's not the first thing that I want you to get about us. When you go to our website, the first thing you find are our core values. The core values are the things that you can point to our behavior and say, yeah, they really believe this. And so we go deep and define things like worship. What is worship for us? Why do we take this time and this effort, and quite frankly, we invest heavily on our worship. It's our core value of ours. We truly believe that we're here to host the presence of God. And that without the presence of God, we're doing nothing. You can have all of the prayer, even the prayers that we say, even the traditional prayers, even the liturgy that we do, is infused with life. We don't just do it in a religious way, we worship through it. Freedom. You go to our website, you'll see our core values. We place high value on freedom. Karvenu, this event that we've been preparing, that we are going to have tomorrow, this has been over a year in the making. Over a year. The first person that I invited to come, not that I invited, but the first person that I had in my mind to come and join our staff was a pastor of freedom, Shalom. And the reason is because this is a deep core value. This is very deep in what we believe as a congregation. So is generosity. So is passing our faith to the next generation. These are things that we want you to capture first about who we are. Because we really believe that what you profess can be misleading. But when you live out, it's what you truly believe, what your core believes. So it's not what we think that we are, but it's how we behave that really tells you who I am and what I really believe, or tells me who you really are and what you really believe. But belief is actually closer to the type of change that we're after. Because it is through a deep transformation at the belief level that we get to identity. You see, a change of identity is true and lasting change. We want to get to that place in which we, even unconsciously, define ourselves as who we really are, what our value is, what we believe about ourselves, what we tell ourselves about ourselves. What do you tell yourself about yourself? You know, if I were to tell you the things that I tell myself in my mind and in my heart, I'll probably be in jail. We are so brutal with ourselves. We're so insulting, are we not?
Yes.
That shows our identity. That shows what we really think about ourselves. That's belief. Deep-seated belief about our identity. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, or inflated. Disproportionately thinking about our, conceiving of ourselves, about how good we are. This change in the area of identity has two components. It has to have these two components. Because there's only one way in which we can identify a false identity. There's only one way, and that is through a revelation. Our own identity, what we believe deep-seated in our heart, is hidden from us. The only way to know it is through a revelation. So we need to hear God to receive a revelation. You have to have these two components. It needs to be supernatural. It needs to come from hearing God. That is the second way in which we can prepare ourselves for Karvenu. First, it's an understanding that we're going into Karvenu. We're going into this time of being in the presence of God and having encounters with the presence of God in certain specific areas of our lives. So understanding how this change happens, how this transformation takes place. We're not here to change or work on our environment. We're not here to work on my behavior or acquire new knowledge, acquire techniques. We're not here to, honestly, we're not here, this is not going to be a Bible study. It's going to be biblically based, but it's not about knowledge. We're not trying to reach your head. We're trying to host the presence of God so you, spirit to spirit, can connect with Him. You realize that freedom is not the absence of something. Freedom is the presence of someone. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Freedom comes through the presence of the Spirit of God, connecting with us. And so we need these two components. We need an understanding of what change really is, and we need to understand that it comes through hearing God. So hearing God has these two components, that it has to be a revelation. It has to be a supernatural unveiling, first, of what the problem is, how we got there. What is it that I am believing about myself? Why do I act this way? It's all hidden from us in our hearts. And we need the Lord to reveal to us. See, we don't wage war against flesh and blood. It's not what people did to us. That's the problem. Our war is against principalities and spirits who are lying spirits. Yes. The real war here is between lies and truth. Yes. Yes. We are the playground where these two forces are battling each other. Lies and truth are fighting, and our heart, our mind, are the field where they're playing. So it needs to be, this is a supernatural war between the lies of the enemy and the revelations of God. It's not about what we think about ourselves. It's about what lies we have believed about ourselves. We are not even ourselves, we are not the source. The source is outside of us in lies that we have come to agree with. How do they get there? Well, it's something that we call this a stronghold. How do strongholds are formed? Well, let me first tell you. There are many strongholds, physical strongholds in the land of Israel. These are caves or mountains that are very difficult to access. And so you can hide there. King David hid from Saul many years, going from cave to cave all throughout the land of Israel. That's a stronghold. It's finding a place where to hide, where your enemy can't find you. Oh, that's what lies do. They find a place hidden from our consciousness. And they tell us, you can't change. You don't even know what I'm doing to you. You have no idea. Well, we need the presence of one who can come and reach and pull out the lie and expose it so that we can understand. So that we can, let me tell you what the process is here. The process of the forming of a stronghold begins with an event, something that happens to you. It could be a wound, it could be a hurt, it could be any number of things that the enemy comes and they misinterpret what happened. Any life event where the enemy has come and told you and me lies about God, right? When that happened to you, that's a proof that God doesn't exist, that God doesn't care, or it's a lie about yourself. Because of that, you're worthless. You are dirty. It's all about identity. All these lies are about identity. It's about you are this or you are not that. You'll never, and you always, these lies, they come real deep. It's a misinterpretation of the enemy, of an event that happened to us. And so you have the event, you have the lie, and our reaction to it is how we come to defend ourselves. Because see, we promise this is never going to happen to me again. And so we, instead of going to God to be our defender, we defend ourselves. We devise ways. And all of this happens most times unconsciously. We don't even know we're doing it. We either find ways to defend ourselves or we find ways to comfort ourselves. Something that happens in our lives is misinterpreted through a lie. We start defending ourselves or comforting ourselves. When Esau and Jacob had their problem, the scripture says that Esau comforted himself with the thought, someday I'm going to kill my brother. He comforted himself. This comforting is actually the root of this plague that we see in our society today of being a victim. See, being a victim is holding on to the hurt because I comfort myself in someday doing something to you. And so I hold on to the hurt. I hold on to the lie. I hold on to the misinterpretation. I comfort myself and I protect myself. And what happens is that because I live protecting myself from you hurting me again, whatever you do, I'm going to see it again as, you see, I knew that we're going to hurt them. I knew that we're going to do this, and so it happens again. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it gets confirmed, it gets reaffirmed, and I know for sure that people reject me because of the way I look. I know I've seen it over and over and over again. That's what happens. Or you fill in the blank, right? And so we enter into the cycle of a stronghold, What happens to me, the lie that I believe, how I defend and comfort myself, and then how it is confirmed again through how I interact with people, and it becomes an event. And so we begin to think, this is who I am. You see the identity statements here? This is who I am. This is what I'm always going to be. I can't change. That's the basis of a stronghold. You can't change. The whole process needs to be short-circuited by the Holy Spirit coming to you and revealing. When that event happened, this is the lie that you believed. That thing that you believe is actually a lie. And so we come to the Lord for a revelation, through hearing Him, for a revelation of what the truth is. Now we can't put truth on top of a lie. We have to cleanse it. We have to get rid of this lie. But how did the lie get in there first? Well, the enemy came, told me the lie, and I said, yes, sir, you are absolutely right. What you're saying is true. I agree with you. I agree with you. The lie comes in, the power of the lie comes through the power of agreement. I have entered into an agreement with the lie about myself, about God, about other people, about other circumstances, about anything, you name it. I've entered into an agreement with it. But guess what? That's the good news. That the way out of that is by breaking that agreement. You and I have that power. Amen. We may be weak, but that power we do have. Amen. I can pray and say, Father, thank you for showing me that this is the lie that I agree with. I ask you to forgive me for believing that lie. Yes. No devil can get in between you and that confession. When you confess that you did agree with it, and you repent for agreeing with it. See, you're not repenting for doing whatever you think you did. It's not the place to forgive people for what they did to you. That's not that place. We're talking about the lie that we've come to believe, that I agree with, and how I now say, I don't want to believe it. Forgive me, Lord, for agreeing with that. At that moment, your chain is just broken. And all that's left to do is to ask the Lord, do you have a truth to reveal to me that was supposed to be in place of that? What is the truth? And so His revelation comes and floods your heart and fills your mind. It changes your perception of what happened to you. That doesn't change what happened to you. That's not the point. What happened to you is, it's concrete. But that was actually not the problem. The problem is what you came to agree with. The lie about yourself, about God, about your circumstances, about other people who were involved in it. That's the lingering problem. Yes. And we just cut it. We just came to that place where we cut off that chain. And the revelation of the truth of God fills you. And you can have joy. And you can truly now forgive that person. Yes? You're free. You're free. And so then you go on to the next line. And you repeat this process over and over and again. It's such a tool, such an instrument of freedom. This little process, simple as it is. I bend, a lie, my defense, my comfort, and then the confirmation, that reaction that I keep getting over and over this whole thing. I can snap out of it through hearing God. It can't be what I think I hear. I can't fit in the blank. It's not doctrine. It's not theology. It's not wisdom. It's not knowledge. It's a revelation of truth. That's what does it. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to explore now specific areas of our lives in which this process has taken place. And we're going to come now to do work, applying this same principle over and over again. You're going to ask the Lord, would you show me this area of my life? Would you show me in this other area? And then we begin to experience freedom here, freedom over here, freedom over here. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the day, there's a new you. There's a new you. You'll go back home and you won't be the same. You'll go back to your relationships and you will react differently. Surprisingly, now your behavior is changed. And your environment is changed. And your way of acquiring knowledge is changed. You have a new source. You see why this is so important? That we do this, that we go through this, that we bring this to you. Because we all need to advance based on this process.